It's time. This is something I stumbled across. Please, everyone share this right now at this second. This is what might get this stream banned. We're about to get into it, specifically, exclusive. No one else has done this yet. It's time to continue. Fraud Week. Okay, so you can go to CrowderBits and see the catalog. We did Dominion, we did Georgia, we did Nevada and Pennsylvania, and we wanted to end on Michigan, and that's because Mr. Dave Landau and myself are Michiganders.
That's right.
And you currently live in Detroit, right?
Yeah, well, I live in
Grosse
New York and Detroit, yes.
Don't you live in Grosse Pointe, though?
That's right.
I love
where
how you just dox Dave.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
We published his address in the show notes, so.
I'm sure it's out there.
Well,
I grew up in the Wayne County area.
The good thing is he doesn't need security. He just surrounds his one house with a bunch of bombed-out crack houses. So they act as a natural force field.
And pit bulls that aren't mine.
So Wayne County, for people who don't know, Wayne County is Detroit, and Wayne County encompasses many other, I guess county, but municipalities, cities that are in that county. It's a pretty big county, and people have been talking about Michigan, considering that Michigan was won, I believe, by a margin of 140-something thousand votes.
At 4 a.m.
Well, that's what we're about to get into. So I was going through the voting records because I know Michigan, and I didn't even have time to get to Kent County and the deeply red counties in the western side of the state, as many people know, because some margins there don't make a whole lot of sense. Unfortunately, not all of that data is available. But I am working with, from the official Wayne County Election Commission website right here, these numbers. And I asked everyone last night, I asked you last night, Half Asian Bill, I said, are you noticing anything? When I sent you the document, it was like 100 and something pages. And I didn't realize that I'm the only one, me and Reg, who read like 150-page documents.
I mean, I regularly read millions of pages for cases, but the point
I'm not
was,
belittling you.
No. But the point was, there's a that
Mom's
you had
not
been
watching.
so into this. She is watching, and she's like, "Did you read more pages than Steven?" Yes, I did. Mom. Yes, I did.
Is your vaccine 95.56?
She's very upset that it's not 97.
Yeah.
So, but when you looked at it, and then later you pointed out, I was like, wow, you only would know this if you'd been living it, like living the analysis the entire time. So
yes. Okay. So let's bring this up here. Here's a statement of the votes report from Wayne County. So I have this. I'm mirroring my screen. Forgive me if this is a little bit raw because I have to zoom in and I'm using an iPad. But look, let's start with this. You see the city of Detroit, right? City of Detroit, the precinct. So what do we have here? Keep in mind you have registered voters at the top there. Here, I'll show you registered voters at the top. Then you have cards cast, voters cast, and percent of turnout. So percent of turnout is based on registered voters.
Right.
That's important.
Very.
Knowing the registered voters and the percentage of turnout. That's how you estimate it. So we look in these Detroit precincts, and these are pretty small, like 752. Here you have over 1,000. Here you have 801. Some of these only have 69. But if you look at the turnout rate, it's very low. Right? You have 15% there. Maybe 14% here, 14% here, 15%, 12%. You have some that are as low as 10%. The highest I've seen here is 20%. So this is all Detroit precincts, okay? I want everyone to follow along here. 16%, 24%, 17%, 25%, 17%. Here, let's keep scrolling because it goes on for Detroit precincts for a while. 14%, 13%, 13%. 21% is pretty high there. 16%, 14%, 12%. Okay? These numbers are pretty consistent across the board. 11%. Where if you look at all these Detroit precincts, the voter turnout is between 10 and 20%. There are a few that are a little bit higher, but it's between 10 and 20% the voter turnout based on registered voters in these Detroit precincts. Okay? So that's pretty low. And you notice here, by the way, the AV, meaning we're talking about the absentee ballots, that some of these weren't counted. So these are the in-day election turnouts, just to be clear.
Right.
I want to be clear about this because now I'm going to go through the surrounding, not counties, but municipalities in Detroit. Because we know Detroit would be where it's most liberal. Wayne County, though, a lot of people don't realize, Wayne County encompasses a lot of places like Grosse Pointe, like Livonia, Canton, some very suburban, working class, sometimes upper white middle class. You have areas outside of Detroit that are 95% white.
Taylor, I think, too.
Taylor as well, Northville Township.
They're white garbage.
Not just trash.
No,
garbage.
It's a specific kind of.
So let me do this really quickly here. I will search in, for example, Grosse Pointe, okay? Because now we'll move down the document. Sorry, Grosse. Okay.
It's with an E.
There we go. Yeah, no.
It's a little more pretentious.
Okay, so now we go to Grosse Pointe. We look, oh, wow. We still have registered voters, as you see there. And we have the turnout rate. And we have total turnout rate 84%. 84%, 82, 82, 82, 75 is the lowest we see there, 83. Even if you look at the in-day voting percentage, they're all between 25, most of them between 25 and 30%. Some of them are absentee ballots, but you see a higher voting percentage by quite a significant margin, right? 80% here, 73. Now, look, let me do this. I'm going to continue scrolling through here, so because these are all part of Wayne County, and then something's going to surprise you, because we thought we were done with Detroit, right?
Right. All
right. Let's go down to Livonia, very white. Livonia, we have 79%, 80%, 84% turnout rate, 85% turnout rate. These are crazy turnout rates, by the way. That surprised me in and of itself. So Detroit, we only have, of the precincts, 17, an average between 10 and 20%. And now in all the surrounding suburban areas, hard Trump country, Livonia, Grosse Pointe, I can bring up Canton. Again, this is all available at louderwithcrowder.com. We will make these sources available to you. You see a voter turnout rate of 80, 85%, 75%, which should tell you that that is an absolute blowout for Donald Trump, because these are hard Trump areas.
Well, and Livonia's So White was trending not long ago.
Yes, it was. Livonia's So White.
And everybody's property value.
That's where I think they poured some Clorox on Jussie Smollett's personal trainer.
They did.
Yeah, but it didn't work.
If the only piece of data that you have is this, and you're a campaign manager for Donald Trump, you're popping champagne.
Right, you're popping champagne. And by the way, these are big. These are much bigger than the Detroit precincts, right? You saw some that were 60 people. You saw some that were 700 people. The highest that you saw up there were maybe 1,000 something. Not many precincts in the thousands, but these have many thousands of registered voters and a high percentage of voter turnout. So Melvindale, I would imagine, is white. I don't know. Northville, very white, 83%, 84%. You can keep on going down here. Plymouth is very white. They have a great haunted house, Erebus, 85%. So these numbers are consistent.
No, that's Pontiac.
Oh, that's Pontiac.
Yeah,
that's
Plymouth
right.
Plymouth is a little hoity-toity.
Oh, is it? That's right. Plymouth. So either way, Plymouth is not exactly mixed. Now, I say this because this is also important. Donald Trump did more, right, with minority voters than any other Republican in modern history. He did better than he did in 2016. So that's important to keep in mind, that even with these precincts in Detroit that might have 15% total voter turnout that we saw, a higher percentage of blacks, Latinos, and women's would have come out for Donald Trump, because that happened in every other county. Okay? But now we look at the area where we expected Donald Trump to win, and we have 80-something% voter turnout in much bigger municipalities, all in Wayne County. But this is what was weird. So I did this, and then all of a sudden, Van Buren, I'm pretty sure that's a Caucasian area. Okay,
that's pretty much a garbage dump.
Is it really a garbage dump?
Actual garbage, like a slope, as we were trying to figure out earlier.
That's like in I think in Louisville, Texas. I have a friend who lives there. I'm like, oh, you guys have a sledding hill? He's like, no, that's a landfill.
That's our trash.
Plymouth actually had a soccer moms defund the police rally in the town center, right by like the tiny theater and gazebos and stuff. It was quite hilarious, because they needed the police to watch them, and it was all white soccer moms and Lululemon.
What am I gonna do? Have the lady in the Fabletics monitor? She can't throw a punch.
My dog's therapist would be pretty good at this job.
Okay, so just to be clear, so we are right now at this point, we are left with Detroit.
Yeah.
15% turnout rate average.
Yeah.
And then all the surrounding areas that are hard Trump country, many thousands of registered voters that we see there, 80% average turning up to vote. And we know that that's obviously heavily Trump. But then we get to the bottom here, and all of a sudden Detroit comes back. But do you notice something? 0 registered voters, NA, as far as percent of vote turnout. 0 registered voters, and by the way, these are much bigger than the precincts before. 2,500 votes, 1,900 votes, 2,100 votes. Some of these are up to like 3,000 votes, 3,400 votes, 3,300 votes, 2,100 votes, 2,300 votes, 2,900 votes, with 0 registered voters and the percent of voter turnout. This, by the way, these numbers here that have 0 registered voters, no data whatsoever that you could match against, let's say if you were doing some kind of canvassing, if you were doing some kind of actual recount, there'd be no way to actually check because there are 0 registered voters in the books. This totals up to around 173,000 voters. Again, look, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, that's the AVCB, which is the absentee voters counting ballot. What's the counting bureau? I forgot what the actual acronym is for here. But Let me bring this up
It's the counting board.
It's the counting board.
Bureau board.
So they would say, okay, hold on a second. So this is their argument. Well, that's from the absentee ballots. Okay. We've made 2 calls to county boards and to people who were handling these elections, and we were not able to get through to anybody. Yep. It still doesn't give you any reason as to why they wouldn't have registered voters at all. Let's assume for a second that all these votes came in really quickly, like drinking from a fire hose. Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. You still have, long before election, registered voters. That's how they do the polls, right? The liberal polls were doing registered voters instead of doing likely voters. So that doesn't change the fact that that data shouldn't read 0.00000000000. And this totals 173,000 votes from 0 registered voters in those precincts. So what are we left with? We're left with the Detroit precincts where we have some data on registered voters. Okay, we know the registered voters, and a 15% turnout rate average. Then we have heavy Trump country, Grosse Pointe, places like Livonia, places like Canton, right? Places where you would have working middle class, some union guys, but people who whisked Trump into the White House last election with an 83% average voter turnout rate. So Detroit, we have numbers for some reason, 15% voting rate. The other areas where it would be white, working class, blue-collar Trump voters, 85% voter turnout rate. Then 0 in all of these absentee ballots, 0 registered voters, which give us 173,000 votes from 134 ABCBs. Now, keep in mind that late on election night, in the middle of the night, there was a ballot dump with about 150,000 ballots.
Yeah.
All for Biden.
Yeah.
Less than 4%, about 3% took place for were actually cast for Donald Trump. That doesn't occur anywhere in nature. No. You could have an election in America's Communist Party and Donald Trump would get more than 3% of the vote. So this area where there's no way to actually check these votes at all, no registered voters, and we have a dump. I want to make sure I get this number right. 150,000 votes on election night, less than 6,000 for Trump. That's about 3% of the votes. And you want to say there are no irregularities? There's no reason to count this? Well, those are just absentees, so they're from ACVBs. So, hold on a second. Why don't you have registered voters? Furthermore, do you know what the average turnout rate would have to be for these absentee ballots? 100%.
Wow.
It would have to be 100% for these remaining votes, and they would all have to go to Biden. Assuming it would have to be more than 100% because if there's one vote that comes in that's higher than that's already 200% because it's 0. There are no registered voters, and it all tipped. All the data that we do have available for us, which, by the way, you should have in elections, and most counties do. This is just a rule of Wayne County, by the way. If you have more than 250 precincts, then the other ones can just be they can just be ACVBs, whatever it's called, absentee ballot counting. And at that point, you can just count them as much as you want, take them as they come in. But why don't you have registered voters? And how can we understand the voter turnout rate? We have 3 turnout rates right now. Okay. We have Detroit, registered voters, about 15% turnout rate. We have everywhere else in Wayne County, deeply red, we have an over 80% turnout rate. And then we have a third turnout rate, which is NA, because 150,000 votes came in the middle of night from 0 registered voters. 100% of which, 97%, it's a rounding error for Donald Trump. Keep in mind, by the way, remember that 138,000 or 128,000 votes that happened in Wisconsin that ended up being a typo?
Yeah.
That's less. That's less
than
the ballot dump that actually took place in Michigan in the middle of night, with 97% coming in for Biden and 0 registered voters for 173,000 of those votes. The lead in Michigan, by the way, for Biden is 146,000. Something else? That's a huge chunk of Detroit, because Detroit used to be a big city. The last census tried to claim there were 700,000 people in Detroit, and we all laugh. It's an ongoing joke in Michigan. It's not. It's like 250,000, and one crackhead just filed for unemployment.
If you count the pit bulls around Dave's house.
Right. Yeah. That does
and a lot of them wear hats.
And one other thing that's important, because well, this is how they do their elections. It's not how they did it in the primaries.
Is this 0? So, I'm sorry. I just
you should be
140,000 people of 0 people.
173,000 votes
of
from 0 registered voters. according to the records.
Make sure I heard that right.
Yeah.
So, so what they've done is they've at the very best, they've broken this out into a way that you cannot figure out exactly how many people voted in each one of these precincts, and they didn't do it anywhere else in the county.
Right. They didn't do it anywhere else in the county.
Anywhere else.
Why do we have records from areas in Detroit County that are smaller precincts, a dozen here, a few hundred there, maybe every now and then you throw in a precinct with 1,000, but the big ones, 4,000, 3,000, 0 registered voters? No information. So this isn't an election irregularity. This is what you would do if you were trying to commit fraud. And this is what we suspected, right, when we said, oh, hold on a second, we went to sleep and there was this ballot dump?
Yes.
How does that happen? And how did the state flip? Because before we went to bed, we were effectively calling the presidency for Donald Trump. Well, these came, no one expected 140-something thousand ballots coming in, 97% for Biden. We said, well, we're going to have to look into those numbers. That seems weird. Now you can't, because there are 0 registered voters. We have no idea as to the voter turnout.
Yeah.
The turnout could be 130%. It would have to be that. For this to actually make sense. At best, this is by design a way to cover up voter fraud. And again, it's not how they did it in the primaries. So even in the Democratic primaries, so when they wanted to get their candidate right, they made sure that they didn't have this kind of a lack of data. So really, at worst, this is designed to commit fraud and have no way to be fact-checked. At best, we have to believe that, A, these people are totally unaccountable, that no one cares, no one in the media has actually done this research and looked at these numbers, and that they're like, well, you know what, we don't have the registered voters, so,
We'll just do it.
Just don't worry about it, guys. It'll be fine.
And lest you think more data is coming that will clear all of this up, isn't there a news story about some county rushing to certify the election results?
Yes, we are going to get to that. We are going to get to that in a second.
Relevant.
But this is really important for people to understand that there's no way to know when there are 0 registered voters, and there's no reason to not have a tally of registered voters. I understand, let's say, it takes a while to count. Like Arizona's still counting. I don't know how many coffee breaks they take over there.
A lot.
Little bit of siestas. We've heard about the demographic changes in Arizona. Siestas. We get it. You haven't finished the counting. But that's the ballots where you say, well, we don't have the number, that we still have to go through the ballots. Fine. That doesn't change the fact that you have the registered voters long before election. That's not something that happens on election night. What you do on election night is match your ballots with the registered voters. There's no reason for that to be a 0. There is no reasonable explanation for that to be a 0, and we've called twice, and we've been given the runaround, and no one has given an answer at all. And again, this is not the way that they did this in the primaries. We're going to continue with Michigan election fraud, but this is something that, did you have a question? I think you were...
No, I was just going to play a little devil's advocate and say if you take out Kwame Kilpatrick, that was the mayor of Detroit, being in prison, and Dennis Archer weirdly running out before stuff got out, and Coleman A. Young's entire, term that put white boy Rick in jail.
Hit 8 Mile,
Yeah, the Democratic Party, I think, has done a pretty good job in
It's all about perspective.
They wanted to lower the population.
When you eliminate Detroit, they've done a good job with Detroit.
Exactly.
Watch Good Morning Mug Club live every Monday through Thursday at 10:15 Eastern.